Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It is just shy of around 12:30, 12:25, 12:22 technically, as we head into our afternoon here in Austin, Texas. We are tracking one of our first major cold fronts of the season. Now, this cold front is bringing in plenty of conditions. It is bringing in some colder weather for a couple of our mornings later on this week. But first, we got to talk about some of our wind speeds and, of course, that lowering of humidity that we are going to see over the next 24 hours, which is going to lead to some fire weather concerns for tomorrow. And also, the National Weather Service just a few moments ago actually issued a wind advisory for our area also on Wednesday. So we'll get to those details in just a few minutes as well. Let's pull this a little bit closer so we can see exactly where we are tracking this cold front this afternoon. It is knocking on the door of the hill country, and you'll probably see some very kind of dense cloud cover working in behind it. You can see that moves all the way into San Angelo there. Let's move on in closer to home. It is just outside of Mason County, likely, moving through Mason and Llano as well as Gillespie County as we kind of shift into the next couple of hours here. And of course, we've got lots of wind picking up as well. I actually want to take a larger look over the entire state of Texas because this cold front has already pushed through the Texas Panhandle as well as West Texas, and they are seeing some very blustery conditions out there. Okay, pulling this up, these are their highest wind gusts throughout the day today. So 43 miles per hour in Amarillo, 36 for Lubbock. We've got 35 on tap for San Angelo. And as we head down here towards Austin, things are getting, a bit breezy here close to home too. So let's actually also take a look at some of our wind speeds closer to home within the K-View viewing area as that starts to move through the hill country, because we're already starting to see a little bit of high wind flow here. So 32 miles per hour in Llano, that's that highest wind speed at the moment. Sustained speeds anywhere from about 15 to even 20 miles per hour is what we're expecting as we head throughout the day today. Now, I will say initially as this moves through, we are going to see that influx of wind. It's going to feel very gusty for a little while. And then as we head into the rest of the day, it might not feel as breezy, but we are going to be fairly windy and blustery for the next, about 36 hours. This will continue through the afternoon today. And then as we continue into our Wednesday tomorrow, that's why we have our wind advisory that has just been issued. Let's actually look at that wind advisory right now. I don't have it completely updated here on our graphics just yet, but I do have it pulled up on our National Weather Service chat right now. We'll actually do a little fun thing here with our boxes, so I can be in one box and you guys can see what I'm looking at also with those current wind speeds and gusts over there. So we have been issued a wind advisory for all of our counties that are also under a fire watch for tomorrow. So fire weather watch, while we have the high wind speeds, we also have very low humidity moving into our area. That's another part of the puzzle here that is going to cause those extreme to very high fire weather conditions. So our current wind advisory, this is from 2 p.m. this afternoon. This starts today, so in the next couple of hours or so. So 2 p.m. this afternoon through 7 p.m. on Wednesday evening. Our fire weather watch for tomorrow goes from 10 a.m. tomorrow to 7 p.m. So 7 p.m. is going to be that cutoff point for both of those alerts that we have in place for our area. So this goes, I actually can pull up the wind advisory, but I'll have to edit it a little bit for us because it's not going to have, it'll probably have whatever our last wind advisory was in there. So we can actually pull that in at the current moment. A wind advisory for all of our areas. You can see that is really widespread over the entire state of Texas here. Mostly that goes from Lubbock to Dallas. Okay, yes, now 7 p.m. Wednesday. So maybe this was updated for us. Gust of 50 miles per hour possible. So we're going to change that up from 40 to 50. So very high gusts tomorrow. Again, this is for pretty much all of the KView viewing area besides Mason County. But if you're in Mason County, you're still going to be feeling the effects of this. And Mason County, you're also under a burn ban. So low humidity, high winds, all of the ingredients are also going to be there for Mason County tomorrow. So make sure that you're paying attention to that and being aware of anything that could cause a spark. So we don't have a high wind warning. There is one you can see all the way out stretching towards El Paso there. Of course, they're going to be experiencing some high winds as well, but this wind alert continues all the way until 7 p.m. tomorrow. That goes for our fire weather alert as well, or fire weather watch that we have in place. But yeah, spanning across the entire area. So that is what we have new for this afternoon. This goes for the majority of Central Texas and South Central Texas as well, and other than immediately along the Rio Grande. So those southern areas aren't going to see as high of wind flows. And you can see also the San Angelo Weather Office has not issued one for their area just yet. So while they will be experiencing the low humidity and those high wind gusts for tomorrow, as well as some dry fuels, you know, every National Weather Service office and the area that they cover, they actually have different criteria that they need to hit in order to issue those alerts. So our region has hit that criteria, and that's why we have our wind advisory out for tomorrow. So sustained winds for this wind advisory expected 20 to 30 miles per hour. Wind gust, we said that already, 50 miles per hour. Tree limbs could be blown down. We've had very dry weather. I know that we had a lot of water and precipitation and rain in July, but really since then we have not been able to recover. So some of those tree limbs and some of those maybe some of that, you know, vegetation has just continued to dry out. So some of that could blow around. Make sure that you're securing loose objects in your yard. That is probably one of the bigger things that we'll take away from this forecast. And of course, you want to avoid those open flames. So there's our wind alert. We'll save that here and we'll touch on that in the 4 p.m. news as well. I do want to go back to our current conditions though, and hopefully honestly take a look at our routers, our cameras. So here's a look at downtown Austin. Not seeing too much there, but I do think here is a look over at the Oasis cam. We're going to start to see some clouds build in with this as it moves into our area. But I do want to take a look at our camera 20, which looks out towards Westlake Hills here. We can change that up. There we go. A lot of times as these cold fronts start to move in, they'll produce a roll cloud across the area, which is always very, very cool to look at. So we'll start to span over here, see if we can see anything fun. Mostly just cloud cover, but you can see it is, you know, marching in a line there. That's because of the front draping across the hill country, why it looks, you know, like it is moving in all together there. So we're looking down over the Pennybacker right now. So we're looking into the Northwest Hills, but now spanning down to the south here. And you can see just, you know, where that cold front goes. That line of clouds following the front. Actually, I think technically these clouds are a little bit in front of our cold front at the moment, but they span all the way north and south, which is really cool to see. And then we do have we have a little bit of a break in the cloud cover, and then we have are extra clouds that are still lingering from the high humidity closer to town and over towards the east right now. It's funny that you can see this break in the cloud cover right here on the camera, because we can see the exact same thing on our satellite. So let's move over to the satellite for the moment, and you can see the break in the clouds, just like you can see the break in I gotta move this over a little bit. You can see the break. Okay, so you see those break in the clouds that you can see on the horizon right in the middle where that radio tower comes up, and then we'll switch over to our satellite and radar. You can see the exact same thing in the exact same area. So that's kind of something cool to look at when, you know, your upper atmosphere observations are linking up exactly what's going on with your surface observations. That's always fun to see. So that cold front is moving on through, bringing us some very gusty conditions. Let's move backwards just a touch. You'll see most of this front is very dry. We may see a spot or sprinkle, maybe the possibility of an isolated thunderstorm. Likely more to the north of us today as that starts to move through, may spark a couple of thunderstorms, probably closer to the Waco area or up towards Dallas. But this is a very dry system. It really doesn't even have too much water moving through areas like Arkansas in that warmer sector there, or actually technically we're still in the warm sector. But high pressure as we move out towards the Arkansas area and also in Louisiana today. So here is something I was looking at earlier. I was talking about that roll cloud. When those clouds start to form together and form that, technical roll, we're probably seeing some really cool stuff up towards the Georgetown area. It's a moist cloud, so it does have some feedback that it's giving back to the radar there. However, I don't think that any of this is squeezing out any real precipitation, but it certainly is, just a moist mass of air that the radar can pick up on. So maybe we should switch our camera here. We do have a camera over at Round Rock, our Kalahari camera there, that may have a better view of what's coming into town. We'll take that really quickly, move that. It's a little bit zoomed in at the moment, so let's zoom it on out. I think this will zoom. Nope, that will not zoom it out. Checking on one thing here. Camera 26 it is. Unfortunately, I don't think I can zoom it out. That's too bad. Okay, maybe we'll try that one a little bit later on, but let's go back to our wind speeds for a quick moment as this shifts into our area. Now up to 32 miles per hour for gusts in Llano County right now, 25 miles per hour for Burnett. Probably pretty blustery out in Fredericksburg, and here in Austin we're also starting to see some gusty conditions as this moves in. Now you can see exactly where that front is moving in. Out towards the hill country, we've got winds out of the north and west, and closer to the coastal plains, we've got winds out of the south and, well, mostly southwest, we'll say. But that wind shift, that big curve you can see there, that's exactly where that cold front is moving on in. And of course, our highest gusts are behind the front and our so breezy conditions are out towards the east. So, okay, let's break this down as to what we're expecting for tomorrow, because we have quite a busy forecast for the next 48 hours or so. Now today, as that moves through, we are going to see that increase in really gusty conditions. And our 7-day forecast, you can see that we have our weather impact alert in place for tomorrow, not for today. Now for today, I believe that we have our wind advisory in place, so we may back that up to include at least Tuesday night. But for Wednesday, we have the wind advisory and we have the fire weather watch in place. So that's why our weather impact alert is just for Wednesday there. High fire danger, very gusty conditions. Look at those temperatures too. We're going to see a major drop in temperatures for tomorrow afternoon, only getting into the upper 60s for our area. So, that's kind of lovely for this area, but unfortunately, we're going to have the high winds also in place, so it might not feel as good. But by Thursday, Friday, we see much calmer conditions, I should say. Friday, of course, being Halloween, busy holiday, and then we have the Longhorns back at home on Saturday. That kickoff is at 11 a.m. Should be a really nice forecast, maybe even a little bit on the chillier side for the start of the game, but then by the end of the game, we've got the upper to mid 70s in the forecast there. So weather impact alert for our Wednesday. Let's move through on one of our models actually and take a look at what we're going to be dealing with as we head into the night tonight and into the day tomorrow. So pulling up our temperatures. This is our future tracker mostly for those temperatures as we head into tonight. Temperatures really going to take a dip, especially for those hill country areas. Now, these are not the coolest temperatures that we will see in the early mornings this week. Now, the hill country will see 40s for tomorrow, but here in town, we're likely going to stay with the lower 50s across the area. And then we here in Austin likely won't see the 40s until Thursday morning and Friday morning. So that will be your nice fall-like chill to the area. And now as we head into Wednesday afternoon around 4 p.m., this is a look at our high temperatures, 66 degrees. So this, this is more of a high resolution model. It only goes out 24 to 48 hours, depending on when it's issued. But that's pretty cool for us here in Austin. We have not seen a cool afternoon like that, I think, since April, or even honestly, way back into March. That's when we're seeing the 60s in the afternoon hours. Let's move over to wind gusts though, because that is going to be a major player for tomorrow's weather and for tonight's weather too. So that starts to pick up now, as we just saw across our area, and of course this resolution model, or high resolution model, is picking up on that. So as we head through the day today, let's move over into 5 p.m. Oh my gosh, look at that. It is going to be quite a blustery day out there. We are going to see gusts up to 30, maybe 35 miles per hour for the hill country, and then as we trail down, look at LaGrange, 39 miles per hour for wind gusts this afternoon. So it's going to be a very blustery afternoon. Again, temperatures are going to feel a little bit cooler because our dew points are also going to drop very significantly, making the air just feel, that much more crisp. This morning, a little bit muggy in the atmosphere. Yesterday, a little bit muggy. We are not going to see those conditions for the rest of the week. We're going to have very dry air in place, which is another ingredient for our fire weather conditions that are on tap for mainly tomorrow. Heading into the late night hours of tonight, we still have elevated winds. It will be a bit more spotty and isolated in areas, but I do think this is going to be one of those nights where you see or hear those winds howling outside your window. Now, gusts are going to trail off just a touch for Wednesday morning. And then as we head into Wednesday afternoon, you'll see widespread gusts are going to reach back into the region. This is a little bit lower than what we're expecting even for this afternoon, but of course we've got that wind advisory in effect. Remember that. So we could see gusts up to 50 miles per hour from this afternoon through 7 p.m. tomorrow. And there's your look at Wednesday at 4 p.m. I want to take a look at our dew points at the current moment, because I know with that cold front that's coming in right now, those dew points are starting to drop across the region. Now, we are still on that slightly humid side as we head into the next couple hours or so. You'll see our dew point here at Austin Camp Mabry is still at 69 degrees. Oh, wrong button here. It's still at 69 degrees. So that has to lower significantly. I mean, look over at Amarillo as well as Lubbock. They are sitting in the 30s. We've got 29 in El Paso. Very, very dry air. So that very dry air is going to be sinking in behind that front that we've been tracking. Dry air, gusty conditions, and of course, we got to talk a little bit about our drought situation. For the past about 2.5 months, we've been seeing very dry conditions, no consistent rainfall. I know we got a little bit of rainfall this past weekend, and it was good rain. Of course, it was mostly beneficial. I know we did have some damages around here from some straight line winds. We had a couple of tornado warnings as well. So we want to keep that in mind, but it just wasn't enough. Now, unfortunately, our drought monitor comes out on Thursday. So sometimes this week and last week they link up. But the main takeaway is that our extreme drought category has spread into most of Travis County now. So we are looking at very dry fuel tomorrow, low humidity, and of course those very gusty conditions. Now that is our 3 major ingredients for fire weather danger. We also have another, besides our fire weather watch that's in place from the National Weather Service, our wind advisory that's in place. We also have another, I guess you could call it resource, and that is the Texas A&M Forest Service, who tracks a lot of these ingredients, how they come together and what our fire outlook will be for the next couple of days. So for today, we're still, I believe, in a pretty high category currently. Let's move over to today's forecast. Okay, so we have some isolated areas of high fire danger for today, mostly out towards LaGrange and down towards the Luling area, South Caldwell County, Gonzales County. And then as we head into the day tomorrow, look how much that bumps up. That bumps up to the very high and extreme category all across our viewing area. So that's exactly why we have the fire weather watch in place, the wind advisory in place, because we will, if a open flame does spark tomorrow, it's going to be extremely hard to control. And again, our forecast has changed a bit. We were forecasting more so winds of 35 to near 40 miles per hour. Now we're seeing the forecast jump up to that 50-mile-per-hour mark with very dry fuels out there, dry environment, and of course gusty winds and very low humidity. So yes, it's going to be very hard to contain if something does spark tomorrow. I know I'm going to be live outside on our midday and possibly our 4 p.m. show talking to some firefighters, local firefighters around here, just seeing, you know, the resources that they have prepared. I know even weeks ago there was a declaration signed by the governor here in case of wildfires, because we have been seeing these drying conditions for quite some time. So I do think that this area is quite prepared for something to happen as these wind speeds pick up and our humidity starts to lower throughout this afternoon. Let's take a look closer to our dew points here in town, because I do think, yep, they're starting to drop in a couple of areas. We're at 59 in Llano, 63 for Burnett. Now, the reason I don't think our fire weather watch is in place for this afternoon is because it's going to take a little while for these dew points to lower. They're not going to be at the exact measurement they need to be, which is at 10 to 15% relative humidity, for that fire weather watch to be not extended, I guess, for them to kind of push it backwards for Tuesday afternoon. So let's take a look at the relative humidity. Yeah, here in town, 50s, 60s, that's, you know, nothing to be concerned about. It's really when it starts to go down to that 20% marker, 15%, when we're just seeing very extremely dry air in our area. So the time now, about 12:45. We'll take a look back at some extra stuff and keep going kind of back and forth, looking at our wind speeds and our gusts and anything the National Weather Service has to say. Again, major updates for this afternoon is going to be, I keep pressing the wrong button. Major updates from this afternoon is going to be that we now have a wind advisory in place. We're expecting higher winds than previously forecast yesterday, up to 50-mile-per-hour gusts, very dry air, and very dry fuels. So we have fire weather danger in the forecast all day tomorrow and even potentially through the night tonight. So you want to beware of those sparks. Those are kind of the major updates that we have with this cold front. Okay, so we're seeing more widespread wind across the western portion of the viewing area, so out in the hill country. Now, we did see Llano gust up to that 38 or 32 miles per hour, I believe, and then Burnett still sitting at 25 for their highest wind gust there. This is moving in pretty quickly. If I wasn't on the live stream now, I would be on the KView roof, and I wish we had somebody up there right now to tell me, you know, how much that is moving on in. I do want to take one more look over towards the west side of town. This is still a look at our Kalahari cam that I was trying to get up earlier, but we'll take a look out towards the west, where our cold front is bringing in some cloud cover today. But it is unfortunately not going to squeeze out very much rainfall. So we're looking out towards Westlake Hills, Pennybecker Bridge there, bringing in cloud cover, sending out some other clouds from earlier today, but not seeing any major roll cloud at the moment. It was a lot more organized the last time we looked. So it's still pretty muggy on the other side of town. Those dew points have not dropped yet, and our relative humidity is quite dry. Another thing that we can check on is temperatures. So our temperatures will be falling behind this front, and we're going to see some of our coolest mornings here Thursday and Friday we haven't seen for some time. And yeah, temperatures are lowering in a few places. 70 degrees in Mason, very blustery conditions. They, of course, will be the first ones to feel the lowered humidity, the dry air, and the gusty winds as that cold front moves on through. And I believe it's probably moving through Mason County at the current moment. Let's cycle back through our satellite and radar really quickly. Still very warm here in Austin, 86 degrees. Our forecasted high was about 87. So I do think we'll hit that marker, maybe even a little bit more when we have that southwesterly flow in place ahead of the front. That is usually compressing that warm air. And as it moves into our area, it's even warmer than usually even forecast. So we could see anywhere from 87, maybe even up to 90 degrees this afternoon. So in a couple of places. So you'll see those clouds in and around our area that we were just looking at, but they are all from that front, even sparking a couple of showers just to the east of Milam County at the moment. Couple of showers coming in on our satellite. That's likely not reaching the ground. I think what you see over in the corner from Milam to Lee County there, that's probably reaching the ground, but otherwise very dry front. We're likely not going to see any rainfall here, especially at Austin Camp Mabry from this. It's going to be very dry. Of course, it's going to drop our dew points, but it also itself, the cold front itself just doesn't have a lot of moisture hanging on to it. So we mostly have cloud cover over the area. Eventually, we will see very sunny skies return for, overnight and into tomorrow, but things are going to be pretty blustery for the next 36 hours or so. Let's see if our National Weather Service has any extra alerts for us. Okay, some of our METAR data is coming in at the moment. Not sure exactly where this is for. KPEZ, but they just picked up a 59 mile per hour gust, which is quite high. So I'm going to actually look up where that is. This is actually closer to the Houston area. Actually, we got to look up where this is. Pleasanton Municipal Airport. Pleasanton, Texas. So no, not towards the Houston area, actually south of San Antonio. They just picked up a very high gust, which we can likely see on or potentially see on our larger Texas page that shows our wind gusts. Yeah, so you see that big bullseye even before I put up the numbers. Okay, that will actually take away the numbers because the numbers didn't help us out too much. It covered it up. But yeah, so that big bullseye you can see down in San Antonio, that's where they picked up a very high wind gust. Again, that was 59 miles per hour. And this caused a severe alert from the National Weather Service. Let's see if we can look at a couple of other, I believe this is all from Central Texas, some of this data that was just issued. So very high winds coming through. Amarillo got up to 43 miles per hour. I believe they will double check this 59 mile per hour wind gust down towards San Antonio, but I wouldn't be surprised as we are expecting gusts of about 50 miles per hour throughout the day today, or throughout, when our wind advisory is issued, and that goes all the way until 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. tomorrow. So pretty much all afternoon, all day tomorrow. So if I can break down some of these gusts, we've got 17 miles per hour. So basically it is starting to work its way through, and we are going to be picking up speed. It is going to be picking up speed as we head throughout this afternoon and becoming much more widespread. 33 miles per hour in San Angelo. Dallas also starting to see a bit of this front, 39 miles per hour in their area for wind gusts. And a look at our dew points as they continue to fall for many areas. 52 now in San Angelo, Del Rio at 58, and we're still sitting at 69 here in Austin. So things haven't passed through quite yet, but you can tell that in kind of west central Texas areas are starting to see much drier conditions. So as this kind of moves through, we'll continue to track things, but likely what you're going to see throughout our area is that those wind speeds just continue to become more widespread over the next couple of hours. And of course, coming up on KVUE News at 4, we're going to have all those conditions we need to talk about, especially the fire weather issue that will be mostly what we're talking about for the day tomorrow. And then for tonight, it's mostly going to be about those wind speeds that we'll be experiencing from about 2 p.m. tonight all the way through midnight and even through the day for tomorrow. So wind speeds looking about the same for areas out towards the hill country. Llano picking up to 28. They did have 32 miles per hour when that was coming in. And then our south and westerly winds that actually are out in front of our cold front are still a bit gusty out towards the east end. But on that part, or in that area, our dew points are much higher. So still very muggy conditions, but also those high winds starting to play a role in the forecast for today. So let's go back over our fire weather watch for tomorrow, kind of things that you need to pay attention to. So again, in the past couple of minutes, that 59 mile per hour gust down in San Antonio. They're going to double check that, but it did set off a severe weather alert for that area. Our fire weather watch should still be in effect for Wednesday. Not sure why that color is not populating here on our map. But of course, strong wind gusts. This says 35 miles per hour. We're actually going to kick that up to 50 miles per hour as our wind advisory is saying 50 miles per hour for areas here in central Texas between Austin and San Antonio. So something we need to be watching along with the fire weather watch. Of course, here at KVUE, we have our own weather impact alert days that we like to issue when, things are going to be impacting you as you head throughout your day, especially weather wise. So 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Probably going to switch that from 2 p.m. today to 7 p.m. tomorrow as those wind speeds start to build throughout the day today. Impacts going to be gusty winds, low humidity, and so we want to avoid those sparks. Everybody has a burn ban out for their counties. Also, be thinking about an evacuation route. I talked about this a couple of moments ago, just that if a wildfire were to spark in any neighborhood for tomorrow, it is going to become widespread and, pick up, strength very, very quickly. It's going to be very hard to control for, even if people arrive to help out with the situation only a minute later. It's really going to have almost optimal conditions for wildfires tomorrow. So we really need to be paying attention. You don't exactly need your exact evacuation plan, but just be thinking about ways to get out of your neighborhood. Some people also have, roads in their neighborhood that are used for evacuations like this in a wildfire situation. So just be thinking about that in the back of your head as we will be seeing some high fire danger for tomorrow. Other than that, not seeing too much new on the map as we head through this afternoon, as we head towards about 2 p.m. And of course, 2 p.m. is when our wind advisory is going to start up for this afternoon and this evening. That's when I may hop back on the stream and update you guys on exactly what's happening. I think for now, I'll probably leave you with just a loop of what's going on. You guys can check back in on your own time and see those current conditions as we head throughout the afternoon. So that's all I got for you at the moment. Again, just beware of anything that could cause a spark today. And of course, just be, be weather aware as you head through tonight and through tomorrow, as that impact alert will be in place for tonight and tomorrow. So